$85,000. None of it was hers. She signed one form to help her brother buy a car. 3 years later, that signature had cost her a marriage, a credit score, and almost everything she owned. This is what happens when helping family becomes a debt you can never escape. Her name was Marin, 32 years old, a nurse, the kind of person who tracked every expense in a spreadsheet down to the coffee she bought on Tuesdays. She wasn't reckless. She wasn't naive. She and her husband, Theo, had been saving for a house for 4 years. Slowly, carefully, every bonus, every overtime shift went into the same account. Then her younger brother, Dean, called. He needed a car. A new job depended on it. His credit was bad. Too many missed payments in his 20s, too many accounts sent to collections. He didn't ask her for money. He just asked her to sign. "It's not a loan from you," he said. "It's just your name on paper. Family helps family." That's what she believed. That's what she'd always been taught. She signed. For a while, it felt like nothing had happened at all. For the first 4 months, the payments came in on time. Marin almost forgot she'd signed anything. Then the first letter arrived. Not addressed to Dean, addressed to her. A missed payment notice. 30 days late. She called him. He apologized. He blamed a slow month at work. He promised it wouldn't happen again. It happened again. By month 7, the lender wasn't sending letters anymore. They were calling, directly, asking her when the account would be brought current. How do you explain to a debt collector that the missed payments aren't yours, when your name is the only one attached to the loan? She paid it herself that month, just to stop the calls. Just this once, she told herself. It wasn't once. Every few weeks, a new gap appeared. Every few weeks, another transfer from her own savings, the same account she and Theo had spent years filling. She didn't tell him. Not the first time, not the 5th time. By the end of the first year, she'd quietly paid over $9,000 toward a car she didn't own, didn't drive, and had never wanted. She told herself it was temporary, a rough patch, something Dean would recover from. Then came the moment that changed everything. Dean stopped answering his phone. 3 days, then a week, then 2. When he finally called back, he didn't apologize. He asked her for more, enough to cover the next 3 months, all at once, because he was, in his words, figuring things out. She didn't have it, not without draining the house fund completely. So she did something she'd never planned to do. She applied for a personal loan of her own, quietly, online, under her name only, a loan to pay off a loan she never should have carried in the first place. What would you have done, faced with a family member sliding further away with every phone call? The new loan came with its own interest rate, its own monthly deadline, its own quiet pressure sitting in her inbox every 30th of a month. She hid the statement in a folder Theo never opened. By the second year, the original $30,000 loan, the one that was never supposed to be hers, had multiplied into something far larger. Late fees, compounding interest, a second loan stacked on top of the first. $40,000, then $60,000, then more. It ended on an ordinary Tuesday. Theo was looking for an old tax document. He opened a folder he'd never opened before. Not one loan. 2. $85,000 in combined debt, hidden for nearly 3 years, sitting quietly beneath spreadsheets and pay stubs. He didn't yell. He just asked one question. "Why didn't you tell me?" She had no answer that didn't sound like a confession. Then came the twist she never saw coming, the one that changed how she understood the past 3 years entirely. Dean wasn't struggling. Not anymore. Months earlier, he'd taken a new job, better pay, full benefits, a raise that would have easily covered every missed payment. He simply stopped paying because somewhere along the way, he'd learned that his sister always would. He never planned to disappear forever. He just never planned to start paying again, either. The marriage survived. Barely. Marin and Theo spent the next 8 months untangling both loans, refinancing what they could, and rebuilding a savings account that had been quietly empty for years. She confronted Dean one final time. He offered no real apology, only excuses and a request for a little more time. She said no. For the first time in 3 years, she said no. They haven't spoken since. Her credit score, once damaged by over 200 points, is climbing back, slowly, month by month. The house she and Theo were saving for is still years away. But the debt, at least, is finally hers alone and finally visible. Debt between family members rarely stays about money for long. It becomes about silence, about who gets to avoid consequences and who quietly ends up carrying them instead. The people who pay the longest price are almost never the ones who caused the debt in the first place. 3 lessons, wherever you live, whatever currency you use. 1. Never co-sign a loan you couldn't afford to repay entirely on your own. Legally, that's exactly what you're agreeing to, not half the risk, but all of it. 2. If you help a family member financially, put in writing. Amount, schedule, consequences. A little discomfort now prevents devastation years later. 3. Hiding debt from a partner doesn't protect the relationship. It only delays the damage and makes it heavier when it finally arrives. Would you risk your own financial future to help someone you love, even knowing they might never pay you back? Every week, a new story about the decisions that quietly change lives. The kind of story that might save you from making the same one.